So let's move on now to card 2, and this is very pretty. It uses the lattice background, and I'm going to create this next card in blue. So from the largest die in the ground labels I've created my hinged base, and from the second die down I have cut and embossed exactly the same way as I did in card 1. I've done a white layer and a blue layer. Now from the second and fourth dies down in the ground labels I have created a frame, and keeping those two together in exactly the same way I have put them through my embossing machine and put a pattern around the edge of my frame. Now to go with the frame you're going to need one of the lattice, fancy lattice, the grateful lattice, sorry. And once you've done that, don't throw these away because you're going to need those shortly, so keep them on one side and we'll use them in a little while. Waste not, want not, says the frugal crafter. Now this is going to sit in that frame, but if you look, it doesn't sit very neatly in the frame because of these edges at the side, and that's just the way the die cuts. So if you look, this piece needs to be removed, so take your craft knife and just go around all the outside edges and remove all those extra pieces. They come out very easily, and once you've done that you'll have a nice neat edge to your card. Now it is important that you cut this in the correct place, because if you cut along the side of the lattice it will all fall out of the card. So you're looking for the edge of this particular shape, and you're going to cut from that top edge just down to the bottom edge, and then once you've done that, that can be removed from the card. Now once you've removed those side pieces, your frame will sit in there quite neatly, and you need to make sure that it's equally spaced so that you have a nice neat pattern. And once you've done that, you're going to glue this frame to that lattice work, and then you're going to cut around the edge without damaging the frame, so that that then sits underneath. Now if you glue it so that this edge is free, once you have that in place you can just pop your scissors underneath at an angle and just trim that off so that it sits inside that frame nice and neatly. Now with the two pieces of card that I've embossed, I'm going to add the blue one to a piece of white card and the white one to a piece of blue card, and I'm just going to leave a small border around two of the sides, and then once that's glued in place I can cut a small border around the other two sides, and with a craft knife I can just cut out the little indents on each of the corners. Now once these are glued, the white on the blue is going to go inside the card, and the blue that's on the white is going to be double layered again onto some more blue, and again it's just going to leave a small border around the edge and cut out the sides. Now this trellis framework is going to sit on the card along there with the embossing just peeping through underneath, and I'm going to add that with foam pads, but before I do I'm going to thread some ribbon through the lattice work. So I'm going to push it up and down through the lattice work and fasten that with some glue on the back. So that will be one piece, and then the other piece I'm going to bring from the top down through the card, and that's going to sit along the bottom part along there. So you have two pieces of ribbon that are crossed over each other in that framework. So once I've got the ribbon woven in place, I'm going to place a foam pad under where the ribbon will sit, and I'm going to place another foam pad under where I think I would like my sentiment, and I want my sentiment to sit up here in the top corner. So I'm just going to place a foam pad under there, and then this is going to be put in place on the front of my card along there. Now the next part is to create a flower. And if you remember, I said to you, don't throw these away, just keep them because they will always come in handy. So what I'm going to do with these is just ink the edges of some, just lightly on the edges, and then with a paper shaper, I'm just going to, this is just an old mouse mat, I'm just going to run my tool, my ball tool, around the shape of the leaf so that it's got some curve in it, and I'm going to do that with all these pieces. And then what I need to do is just freehand or punch, is just cut myself a small round shape, and this is going to help us create the flower. So all I'm going to do once I have a lot of these all shaped is I'm just going to pop them around the edge of my circle, and I'm going to just lay them all in along the outside edge, and I'm going to overlap them, and I'm going to continue my way around all the outside edge. Now the next thing is to go around for a second layer, but this time you're going to overlap all the petals. Now once you have your flower to the size that you want it, I've just added a little pearl centre to mine, and by just pinching the petals you can get another look to your flower. Now that is going to be sparkled up with some glitter, so I'm just going to add some wet glue along the edges, and I'm going to add some glitter to my flower. So there's my flower, and from the foliage set I've cut myself two of the leaf shapes. Now before I'm taking that out of the die, I'm just going to go over it with some ink, and that just accentuates the pattern on the leaf just a little bit more. And then once you've done that, if you just pinch the petals, you'll just give them a shape, and those are going to sit under my flower. Now I've stamped and heat embossed a sentiment, and that's going to sit on my card, but just to make it have a little frame around it, I've cut another shape in blue, and I'm just going to cut that in half. And then what I shall do is pop it underneath the original sentiment, but just leave it showing a little bit around the outside frame, and I'm going to put the other piece at the bottom, and that will just give a shadow effect to your sentiment. So now I'm ready to add the other parts to my card, and I'm just going to make it a little bit different to this card. So where the ribbons cross over, I'm going to add my bow, and I've got a blue embellishment for the centre. I'm going to pop my sentiment along this side, and then over there where it's supported by the foam pads, I'm going to add in my leaves, and I'm going to pop in my flower. So this is all ready now to add to the front of my lined card. I've put some ribbon around the lining, and I'm just going to pop this on the front so that it's nice and straight, and press it in place. Now just as a finishing touch, I'm adding in some tiny blue pearls to all the cross sections on the trellis. And that then is a very pretty card to send to your recipient. So there you have card 2 in 2 different colourways, just a slightly different layout, but both very pretty.